And so, with episode 12, it starts off with a young man working on a science project.
Yes. So
it's kind of out of context at first until you kind of see his inspiration for his science project.
Yeah, it's the Hitchcock for the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
So Hitchcock has the whole classic, like, you can have a 5-minute long scene where two people are talking at a table, blah blah blah, and then at the end of the 5 minutes, the bomb blows up.
Mm-hmm.
The bomb under the table. But if you start the scene showing the audience the bomb under the table, then they've got the whole 5 minutes to wonder when the bomb's going to go off.
Exactly.
And so this is setting the powder keg, the bomb, for the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really well done. I think I saw a thing actually just earlier today where, because again, this character's established. Him and his dad run some sort of shop that Bricks works at, da-da-da-da. But he was the other person that they brought into the hotel and tortured. And they tortured him first.
Uh-huh.
And then the commandant was like, string him up. Like, we're done with him. We don't have any more information. String him up as an example.
Yeah.
So they hung this kid's father publicly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it.
Retribution.
Yeah, and it really does set up the whole episode. But I want to go a step before this scene.
Okay.
So, have you noticed the intro theme, which has never been big and bombastic, right? It's always sort of soft and subtle, but apparently they will tweak sort of like the feel. It's the same song.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing this is why I think it was one of the prison episodes. They did one that was like synth vibes, and like someone like went and took that and did like a whole like fake like 80s Andor TV intro and just synthed it out and like did all these title cards and stuff.
Yep.
But
I did notice it.
Remember you did notice, okay. I did not notice until this last episode.
I've heard every interpretation of this theme that there is. When I have to select the theme that I'm going to use for this show, I listen to all I've heard all of them. I heard the fight scene ones, the epic battle ones, the ones that's kind of downtrodden. But they did the same thing with the other shows like the Book of Boba Fett. Like they had one that was almost like a Western sounding one. So they had multiple themes that they had for different tones of different episodes. So yes, I'm very aware. And when I heard it, I was like, okay, that's the theme that they use for the funeral ceremony. It was that kind of a tone for the one they used. Yeah.
Well, see, that was the interesting thing, because like I wasn't really paying attention to like how it changed from episode to episode.
Okay.
Like before I like went and read stuff about it, I wasn't sure if they were tweaking it or if it was just like they're just going for a vibe thing. It's not a consistent song.
Right.
But the thing with 12 was you can hear a qualitative difference to it. Where like that other episode was like synth vibes, right? I was like, oh, that's weird. It sounds like a funeral dirge.
Yeah.
And it didn't click. I'm like, it didn't think like, oh, we're going to this episode. Marv is dead.
Right.
Right. But it's like, it felt down. Like it felt like a jazz dirge, like you'd get in New Orleans or something like that, right?
Exactly.
Right? Before it becomes the upbeat version, right? Where it's the slow dirge. And I was just like,
Yeah.
Like, is that me putting that on there? Like, no. And then to jump in the middle, when they are preparing for Mara's funeral procession and they start showing the musicians tuning their instruments.
Yeah.
I was like, oh fuck, it is a dirge. It is a dirge. Oh,
Yeah.
and it got dusty in
Yeah.
my office all of a sudden. Very dusty.
Yeah. Yep.
Very
Yeah.
dusty. And it was
Yeah, it was very
well
very
played, you
powerful.
bastards. Well played.
Yeah, it was very powerful, and I think the reason why I really noticed it is because it was a little offbeat, but on purpose. And when I heard it, it just made me think of like the marching band. So I'm always with my daughter and her marching band stuff. So hearing that and just hearing the instruments like that, I'm like, okay, this is a thing. So, but yeah, and I think sometimes the other ones are kind of closer to the original, where, like you said, if it sound a little synth, it isn't off enough. And then the fact that that same sound kind of continues on through the show, so it's not contrasting. It's like it's consistent. So like, okay, maybe I heard it right, because it is nothing that abrupt to make you go from 80s pop to hardcore rap. It's always on the same line. But like I said, this one just sounded different. It was still connected for sure, but it definitely sounded different than what we've been hearing for the whole season so far. So it really did kind of stand out in a good way, though.
Yeah. Then the scene after that, Andor has sneaked back to Ferrix, and he's going through the streets, and he runs his hand across a brick.
Yeah, I remember seeing that for the flashback.
It's a flashback to his adoptive dad.
Yeah.
Teaching him a lesson about, Empire throws away all this scrap and da. And it's just like, it makes, because they've introduced the bricking before, which is they cremate the person and then mix the cremation ashes into a brick.
Yes.
And they get put in a wall somewhere, right? And it's like, I've seen memorial bricks and stuff like that. People can say, in memory of so and so,
right.
Put them here and there. But that's a step above to no, that is the cremated remains of the person. Yes,
that was beautiful.
Like,
if that's not being done already, that's going to be borrowed. Believe that.
Right.
Especially in the time of now where you got like a lot of less caskets and more cremation and stuff. That's starting to be a thing that's not frowned upon, So it's probably going to be more of that going on.
That's a really cool idea. I'm like, I'll probably just stick with getting cremated and getting used for some tree or some shit like that. But like, I can see people doing that.
Yeah,
like,
it's almost the same concept.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's very similar. You become the tree, as opposed to you are a brick in this building. But it was very, very well done. And then I think the other thing that comes, I think right after that, which I was so happy to see, and we got a little tease in 11. I thought it wasn't coming back. Andor gets back to Space Caribbean, and he gets his stuff, he gets his money, gets the manifesto.
Yes, I thought that was beautiful. Yeah.
I thought the manifesto was going to play a role, and then we got all these episodes without it, and I was like, all right, I guess the manifesto, whatever. All right, well. But then he goes back and he gets the manifesto.
Oh, yes, he does.
And we get to hear in episode 12 the manifesto. Oh.
Okay.
I've seen people posting the words from the manifesto. Like, there is so much quotable shit from this one episode, let alone the whole season.
Yes, there is. It's funny because it's on top of this reunion in a way of all the characters we saw. So Cyril and Deidre and all these other and Luthen, everybody's coming together. They don't know that they're all coming together, but they're coming together, and it's overlaid by Nemik's overdub with his manifesto, as you said, and it's speaking to the moments, which happens again with another speech, but with this one, it was the thing where he said this thing that I thought was beautiful. It was like, tyranny requires constant effort. And then oppression is a mask of fear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ugh.
line is fire.
And it was just talking about like pretty much saying the way the Empire is moving is unnatural. And so it's just going to be this constant thing where it's just constantly just overdoing it. It was just so much truth in it that applies to so much. It was just so well done. And the layering of the scenes that they showed that went over it all. It was just very poetic. It was very truth to power. But I thought it was beautiful the way the manifesto was laid over those different images of different people, all the stuff going on, and the quotes, and the, like I was saying about the tyranny requires constant effort, and oppression is a mask of fear. But it was like interesting to see Andor's face and him taking it in, and almost to snap him out of it when it got to the part where he said, well, remember this, try. And it seemed like,
yes,
I was just like, wow, that's all you have to do is try. Sometimes you can put so much stuff on yourself, or others put so much on you, that can be overwhelming, and you think you got to succeed. But even more important than succeeding is trying in the first place. That's just the first step, to get there, and to just try. And
I think about this sort of sentiment a lot in the realm of sort of like participating in politics. And I don't mean like running for office or something like that, but I think for a lot of people it's really difficult to engage with politics,
right?
Because there's so much risk of what feels like wasted effort, right? Where you back a candidate, you back a party, you back a movement, whatever it is, and they don't win. Or even worse, you get someone in there and they fuck up. Right? There's all these opportunities for it to feel like you wasted your energy, you wasted your effort, it didn't pan out anyway. There's so many ways of like participating and losing.
True.
Right?
True.
I think that is a hard ask for some people.
Yeah.
And to simply try, not to focus on necessarily, oh, I'm going to do this because I'm going to get results. I'm going to try because this is the right thing to do, right? It may not work, but I'm going to try anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that whole scene, because it's not just for, it was appropriate, those lines on Andor, but the start of the manifesto where he's talking about the struggle is hard, it's on bricks in her prison cell. So there's times when like voiceovers really don't work, and this fucking worked. And it's interesting because it's a semi-diegetic one at the same time. Like Andor is listening to the manifesto, so it's a voiceover, but it's also a diegetic voiceover. It really works. And I think the next moment where we get sort of a diegetic speech is a little bit cheating on the term there, but it's when Andor finally meets up with Brasso. Right, they're in the underground passage,
right? And
Andor is unloading all of this. I told her this when I left, and I didn't get back, and it's just it's so fucking it's rough. Like he's failed, right? He's tearing himself apart,
right?
And then Brasso has to like stop him, and it's like, so this is what Marva told me to tell you.
Yeah, because she knew you would say that.
She knew it.
She knew you was going to say that.
And this is interesting because like on one level, like the scene, it kind of worked. And on the other hand, the scene fucking destroys me.
Yeah.
Right? Because like there's one level of detachment, because at least for me, I think I've been fairly lucky because I have a couple friends don't have this. I don't have sort of unresolved stuff with my parents, right? I don't have any traumas I gotta work through, any of that sort of stuff. I know how my parents feel about me. I know they're proud of me. Boom, that makes such a huge difference. So
Yeah.
glad for that.
Yeah.
Andor, I don't know. I don't think Andor necessarily has that dynamic with Marva. Maybe a little bit because he's always hiding what he's actually doing with her.
Right.
But I think the I left and she died is the part that's tearing him apart.
Yeah.
But
and he's also taking a disagreement, and she wasn't even mad. So for him to relay it back the way he did, he put a lot on it to the point where I almost felt like, wait a minute, I was there for that scene, and she was at peace with it. She was almost kind of like, I'm gonna do me and you do you, and this is why. And even the whole thing where don't keep looking for your sister, and it's not your fault. So to me, the way I saw that conversation, I thought it was beautiful, kind of like a possible goodbye, but it was beautifully put. And he hears it in his head because the way he's relaying it, we've left on bad terms, and I did this and I did that. And I'm like, dude, that's not what it was. But
that's certainly not what she was trying to do. She was trying to unburden you.
Exactly. But I thought it was very interesting. So after the dude said that to him, it seemed like that he almost accepted it more, hearing the words coming from him. It almost calmed him down in a way. And he kind of looked at him like, one, probably acknowledging that sounds like what she was saying. He believes him. But two, that it was what he needed to hear as well. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
And it's amazing because there's two components in what she gave him through Brasso. Because the one is like you feel what you need to feel and you know what you need to know, right? And when those two things come together, you'll be a hero, right? You'll step up, right? And that's a whole level of like, I see you and I know what you can do, and I know what you know and I know what you feel, and when you just put those together, you're gonna catch fire.
Right.
That's
right. Like you're the spark. Huge. Like that was beautiful when you said that thing about the spark. Yeah.
And then the next line is the emotional ball kicker. Right? It's I love him more than anything he could do wrong.
Exactly. Like
it's like I know you're gonna make mistakes. I know you're gonna do
I love you in spite
stuff.
of.
I love you in spite of it. And it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's like if she hadn't tried to unburden him previously or thought she'd failed like that, just like you almost see the immediate effect, because what comes right after that is like them like, I have to get bricks out. And he's like, dude, you're gonna take on a whole fucking hotel? And he's like, yes. Yes. And it's like, there we go. You're on fire now. Like,
it's almost like that Neo
he's not gonna
moment.
do dumb.
Yeah, it's like that Neo moment with the architect. It's like, well, you could either save you can either save Zion and the people and your people in the future, or you could save Trinity.
Right.
And he was like, okay, and he just walked out. I choose her. And just walk out that door. Like,
right.
Decision made. But yeah, it was very powerful. And like I said, yeah. So he had to go get Bix, and oh man. Okay. And so within that meeting in the sewer, and there's a slight thing that was made about Marva, which I thought was interesting. Kind of like, what does he mean? What's he got to do with her? Like, I'll take care of Marva. And so we find out what that was is that they, started the ceremony a little early. And so even though the Empire had a certain time they wanted to start it, that was different than what the people wanted, so they could have an advantage, they went ahead and just, threw it up there and started a little earlier than they even wanted. So it kind of had them on their back
I didn't
foot.
catch that they started early.
Yeah, they started early.
I
Yeah,
like that. There's
the
a little bit of
anvil,
extra
the anvil
defiance.
started
Fuck
early,
you.
and that's
Instead
why
of
he.
12, we're doing it at 11.
Right. So the anvil hit, and that's what it's kind of like, what's going on? So the anvil guy kicked it off a little bit early, and like I said, all the people was ready, but not the Empire. So that's what they were scrambling, trying to say, everybody run out there and get this and get that, and they kind of threw them off kilter. So it's funny, all that planning they did, and like this is the best point here and here and there. It threw them all off. So I thought that was beautiful. But I remember,
Yeah,
like when it was in the
'cause
sewer,
they
it was
said,
brought up
fuck
about
your crowd limit. We're bringing everyone.
yeah. And then Andor is trying to get a good spot because he want to see this ceremony that's going on, and he sees Luthen and he's just thinking like, oh crap! He sees him, he knows it's trouble. Like if he's here, can't be good.
Yeah, because at this point, I wasn't clear whether or not there hadn't been any discussion between Val and Luthen of like, let's not kill him. I think Val was on team not kill Andor, but I think Luthen was still kind of there of like, we should clean up Andor. I think what he saw changed his mind.
Yes. Yeah. When we find out it did, because
we find out it did at the end.
I thought Val still was going to do it.
I think Val would have done it.
Yes.
I don't think Val would have agreed with it.
Yes, I agree with that. Now Luthen's assistant, she was all about taking him out.
Oh, yeah.
I think she was down for it.
And the thing is, she's not wrong.
No, she's not
wrong.
She's not.
To be cagey.
Right. Well, what about that last piece? We don't need the piece. What about that last piece? Somebody else is interested in it. No, but we need that last piece. No, we don't. We are all right. I think we should just come on home. I love that.
Oh man, that
conversation.
whole coded conversation was so good.
Yeah, I loved it. That was funny.
So good.
There's this moment when they were playing the music and they took a little pause. Mm-hmm. They saw the Empire and they just started back playing and stepped off. It's just like, okay, this is the point of no return. We're going to do this.
Yep.
That was so powerful. And they're coming from different sides of the street. So you got, the workers on one end, you got the sisters on another side, and they just kind of all coming from different sides to, come forward to the main square, I guess, which was just beautiful to see. And the music is just going, and you're seeing the Empire, and the troops and stuff getting kind of worried, scrambling around, and you can see almost acceptance in everybody. I didn't know it was going to go down the way it went down, but you see that everybody just kind of like, well, this is what it's going to be. And I like the reveal of it because it wasn't obvious. It wasn't like, oh, this is going to go down. It was almost kind of like, I thought that it was going to be more them getting kind of caught off guard because they were just really just trying to do the celebration and not be bothered and just kind of get out of hand. But it was almost kind of like, I don't know if they knew what she was going to say. Because it got to the point where they got to the square, everybody was there, the Empire's there, they look like they were itching, ready to do something, wait for something to pop off. Everybody just worrying about themselves. They're playing the music, they get there, and the droid has a holo projector, and it's Marva. And it was just beautiful. Man, the writing on this show was just amazing. But
I wasn't ready for her hologram to show up.
Yeah.
I was not ready for that. And it was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. And even when she was saying, like, even though she's acknowledging that, if you're seeing this kind of thing, then I must not be here. But she's like, it's like I could see you. Like, man.
That whole speech was fucking fire.
Man, yeah. I'm trying to, yeah, okay. Yeah, it was just
really hard with the show sometimes to not take clips that show up on YouTube and just start spamming them on Facebook, which is where I go for social media, and just being like, why the fuck aren't you people watching this? Like, look at this, because it's like Luthen's monologue, like all these things that are just holy shit, so fucking good. And the only reason I don't is because I don't want to spoil this, because like out of context doesn't hit as hard, but like it's like, just go watch the show, please go watch the show. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, what was it? I'm not asleep, but I woke up too late.
Right.
If I was going to do it again, I'd woke up sooner and fight the Empire.
Yeah.
Like, yo.
Yeah, it was, man, like these speeches.
And what do you sacrifice?
Calm. Kindness, kinship. Love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago from which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight has set me on a path from which there's no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, there's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
I've been sleeping. I've been turning away from a truth I wanted not to face. There is a wound that won't heal at the center of the galaxy. There is a darkness reaching like rust into everything around us. We let it grow, and now it's here. It's here, and it's not visiting anymore. It wants to stay. The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness. It is never more alive than when we sleep. It's easy for the dead to tell you to fight. And maybe it's true. Maybe fighting's useless. Perhaps it's too late. But I'll tell you this. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting.
Right now. The building is ours. You need to run, climb, kill. You need to help each other. You see someone who's confused, someone who's lost. You get them moving and you keep them moving until we put this place behind us. There are 5,000 of us. If we can fight half as hard as we've been working, we will be home in no time. One way out. One way out. One way out.
Whoever write these speeches for these characters, man, they are just so on point. I love the style of them because it's a lot of repeating of the same things, like a mantra, but it adds a little extra to it. And so for her, like you said, it was like, we've been asleep and we play along to get along, but they don't plan on leaving. They're not leaving. I could not help but think, like, she was speaking to us, right? You made me think of like how work is for people and how certain situations, like, we just ignore all this stuff. It's tyranny and we're just ignoring it just because of our fake quote unquote peace, and we just go to sleep. We never get to a boiling point because every time we get almost close to it, then we go to sleep. We've been asleep.
It's the boiling frog thing again.
Yes, and just how it just keeps escalating.
Thing, which they brought in earlier.
Yes.
And you relate it to work. And me, as former teacher president of our union, a big problem we had with our classified staff was job creep, which is, oh, my job duties are A, B, C, and D according to my job description. Oh, but now they're adding E, and then F, and then G. Am I getting a promotion? No. Okay. Well, now we're gonna add H. Now we're gonna add I. Am I getting a raise?
No.
Now we're gonna add J, and like, fuck.
Right.
And it's that same thing. It's not, an oppressive fascist organization, but it's just a bureaucracy that is able to take advantage, whether it's maliciously or not.
Yeah.
Gotta wake up. They're boiling us alive.
Right. And it was just a warning of bad things can happen while you're sleeping. And you run to it for peace, but it's not peace. Falling asleep blind eye and all that kind of stuff, that's not resolved. That's not resolved at all. That's sleeping. But things still happen while you're sleeping. And so that's basically what she was saying, what she said so eloquently. And that speech that she said was really speaking to the moment. And like you said, that part where she was like, if I could do it again, I would wake up early to fight the bastards.
I'll tell you this. If I could do it again, I'd wake up early and be fighting these bastards from the start. Fight the Empire!
Fight
and
the Empire. Straight up war cry.
Interesting thing. So apparently, people were watching that scene, and apparently some of them did a little bit more lip reading because it apparently didn't look like she said "fight the Empire."
Oh, okay.
And apparently, it's come out she did not say "fight the Empire." She said "fuck the Empire."
That'd have been dope.
Like they used, I think, the take, but they redubbed the line.
Yeah.
Because that was apparently Disney was like, "We're not ready for that.
Yeah.
Don't drop the F-bomb."
Right.
So she actually performed the line "fuck the Empire."
That fits.
Yeah, it fits. Oh
It
man,
fits.
it fits. Yeah,
That's
and
powerful.
then the Commandant overreacts. Again, the Empire overreacts.
Yeah.
If he had broken through like he did, took his cloak off, and when he starts taking the cloak off and going forward, I was like, why is he taking his cloak off? And it was like, oh, he's gonna cover up the holo projector.
Yeah.
But then her voice is still going, so
Yep.
he just kicks over BMO. If he had just covered up the holo projector and was like, turn the droid off, or pick the droid up, or like did something that wasn't like, I'm afraid, right? It's the mask of fear. Oppression is the mask of fear. Kick the droid over.
Overcompensating. Didn't take all that.
They may not have fucking lost their shit, but they were like, oh nope, we're done.
Yeah.
And
that's like flipping over a casket. Like, what are you doing? You put your hands on my mom.
You know what? I hadn't really thought of it that way, but
that's how I took it.
Yeah, it is kind of like it's kicking over the casket. Like it was disrespectful enough, even if it wasn't Mara, it was BMO.
Yeah.
But speaking of disrespect, this is the funny thing is I saw so many people like not seriously like being like what the fuck, but like joking about the fact that Brasso was slugging people with Marva's brick.
I saw that too. I thought
because he's carrying Marva in the brick, and just I think he even hit the Commandant, and it was like people would be like, and the thing is the comment that would come up is like, you think she'd be upset? Like
I thought it was dope.
Look at this.
Here's a smack from the afterlife.
She's
right.
Like, she is fighting the Empire.
Right, her name is on it. Here's a smack from the underground. There you go. Smack from the afterlife. Here you go. Serving up. I thought it was poetic.
Yeah,
and it didn't break either.
It didn't break, and that's the spark. And then we get the kid whose dad got hung that builds the bomb at the beginning, and he's like, "Oh, shit's getting real now." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, and it's you see him making that choice of like, "Oh, fuck these people," and he throws the bomb over towards the hotel, and it just happens to land near all the munitions the Imperials were stacking up outside. And
so anybody near a window is not a problem.
Oh, big boom, big bada boom. And that gives enough chaos to the scene for then Andor to slip in and all these other things happening. A lot of people getting shot. Because like Deidre's command of like, don't shoot anyone. We want to take Andor alive. Commandant's like, fuck it, open fire. Fire at will, shoot into the crowd, and it's just like, yikes.
Yeah. She definitely didn't have the control that she thought she had.
A lot of characters that we were tracking, a lot of characters that we've been following in Bricks died in that fight. The head of the Daughters of Ferrix, the ticket seller guy that told Andor his mom had died, and he joined the fight too. Like, it's not this clean prison break. Like, a lot of people are gonna die. Like, this is messy and deadly and violent.
Yeah. I also thought it was kind of cool, especially with Deidre, when they did have women in there. I like when they have strong women, but then they get caught up when they're in the man's world. I like that. Versus just the super powered woman that just kind of takes everybody down. It's like she it almost reminded me almost like how you would see women that puff up to be strong.
Well, the other thing too is they don't really have the male version of that either.
Yeah,
right? They got some soldiers,
yes,
right? But there's no one being the amazing badass. Like, even though Andor goes and sneaks into the hotel and he shoots a couple people,
mm-hmm.
it never at this point is just like, you don't get the perfectly stoic, like, this doesn't bother me, I'm just gonna pew pew and shoot people. Like, everybody feels grounded in like, ah, shit, this is scary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I guess I was thinking about like how when she thought she was being harassed and followed, right? Like she felt like, now if that was a dude kind of stalking a dude, he probably stop up like, hey man, back off or whatever. She puffed up and was nervous of her safety. And when she got to safety, then she exhaled and was like, oh, what I went through, what I went through. Like normally when they have a, especially like if it was an officer woman or whatever, she probably beat him up in the street and like, what are you doing, man? Well, she'd be like, almost like deal with it like a guy would deal with a guy in some ways. And I kind of thought it was interesting how, but even the stuff where she, at the, when something else had happened with her towards the end, I guess I like the fact that they showed people not having control of the whole situation, and they felt they was out of their depth.
Yes.
They were in over their head, and it was in believable ways, and not just I'm perfect at every situation. Yeah, I'm just not somebody who's just gonna.
Everybody has weaknesses, and they can be pushed too far, and they can be surprised, and Deidre is such a character that is in control, and that whole thing got out of control. Yeah. She almost got murdered. She got her gun knocked out of her hand. She was as vulnerable. She could have died so easily.
And strong at the same time in a different way. She didn't have to be beating people up and throwing people across the room to be strong.
That is a archetype that I think the badass woman, you don't necessarily allow women to be physically badass. Cool. Yeah. But there's also, you can just have characters that are just not physical badasses, but are competent badasses, and they keep their shit together. Like they're the mastermind or whatever trope you want to go with. And their thing is not, I am the combat ace. It's like, no, I'm the one that set up this whole situation. So if you step out of line, you die.
Yeah, you can be strong in different ways. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And Deidre is strong in that way, but she's not. She's not a freaking combatant. Right? That's not her profile.
Right.
So a situation like that goes fucking sideways hard rattled the shit out of her.
Right. And it was refreshing for me to see that. I thought it was really cool because normally they would just have her doing a flip spin thing and throwing them people over her head. So I thought it was kind of interesting. I thought just like when they showed Cyril, it was cool seeing him out of his depth when he was in almost like a war situation, and it went bad. It went bad. It wasn't like, oh, give me your gun, Sergeant, and I'll handle it myself. You could tell that he was in over his head. He was almost stuck. And I love that. He didn't have to be the super warrior, because that's not he's a pistol pusher. He just, he worries about his uniform more so than he don't want to get it dirty. He want it tailored. And so for him to be like, where am I? How did I get here? Oh crap. I like that.
So this is like Cyril would work as a detective, right? Yeah. He was trying to be a detective. He was trying to find a murderer, but he is not SWAT team. And he signed up with SWAT team and was like, oh fuck, over his head. Right. And it's funny now that you sort of have that contrast, because he's the one that pulls Deidre out of the mix, puts a gun to her back so she doesn't fucking argue with him, and just she doesn't realize it's him. She thinks she's being shoved into a room to die, and then is like, hey, I saved your ass. Right. And she's angry for a moment because she thought she was gonna die, and fuck you. And then she has her little breakdown, and the look on his face is kind of like, hey, this is me. I'm not a total fuck up. And now I'm also reading it as not just hey, I saved you, you owe me points or some weird thing, but it's also a little bit of hey, now you know how I felt. Like, there's a little bit of like, yeah, I totally got pistol whipped by shit going sideways.
Yeah.
But hey, same page, you're alive. Like,
Right.
there is a level of like, yeah, I saved you. Notice me. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was sweet.
Show's too good.
Yeah, and like I said, it seems like they were almost going to have a romantic moment or something.
Kind of glad they didn't jump to that.
Yeah, me
Just
too.
Let
Me too.
Deidre sit with. It would have been too much.
Yeah,
Like, that's like a crack in the facade where
Mhm.
you could see, if when we come back in season 2 and there's a time jump, that if not romantic,
Mhm.
at least she respects him now. They have some
exactly.
sort of like, we're on the same team. I'm not gonna write you off.
Right.
We can work together because now you've saved my bacon.
Right.
Right.
Like, she had to talk herself off of her default feelings for him. Like, wait a minute, I'm mad. I hate you. You make me sick. Wait, you saved me. Oh, wait, I think I owe you an apology. Like, she had to talk herself back. Like, rewind. My default is I hate you. You're a creep, blah, blah, blah. I told you to stay away from me. Last time I saw you, I threatened you, and now I got to roll that back and I think I should probably say, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. So I thought it was pretty neat. Because you can see it thinking it, working it out. Like, oh, wait,
Right.
Sorry, thank you. And he just kind of was calm the whole time, just looking like, yeah, like you said, yeah, I saved you.
Giving her space to process.
Yeah, say space to process. So that was very powerful. That whole thing. So,
and I like that we get a bit because his sergeant buddy's there, because the
Yeah.
sergeant buddy was the one that like, hey,
Mhm.
they're gonna have a funeral. Andor's mom's dead,
Yeah.
and he goes with him, and they have this small scene before all this goes down where they're flying in on the shuttle.
Yeah.
And they switch hats.
Yeah, what was up with that?
And I've only seen one interpretation that made sense, because I was like, I don't get it. Like, it's very, like, the vibe is very much like old buddies, we're cool with each other, right? But the interpretation that I saw is like, they're going to be in a crowd and they want to make sure they can keep track of each other. And it's one thing to say, hey, remember my hat, but it's another thing to say,
That's
I know
hella
what my
slick.
hat looks like, put it on, I'll take your hat because you know what your hat looks like.
That's almost too good of an answer.
So it's
I
like,
love that.
I don't
though.
know if the writers did
Yeah.
that, but it is fucking brilliant. Whoever articulated that points to you, sir, because
Yeah.
if that's what it was, that's a very clever move there. But we see our Sergeant Bud at the end of this, and this I feel like is the one scene that is the most open to interpretation. It's after the riot, after the chaos.
When he's on the ground and the people
and he's
passing
on
by.
the steps.
Yeah.
Passing by, and he's drinking whiskey or something out of a flask, and it's just like, what's going on with him?
Right.
Because that is not a we crush the people, we put out the fermenting, right? Because that was his
Right.
whole thing, is like, we're crushing the fermenting, we got to put it out. And it's like, I feel like he kind of got slapped in the face with what's actually going on. Like, that there is an interpretation there where he's like, oh, this is too much. Like, I'm not happy with the fucking murderous brutality that the Empire just put down on these people. Like, I was ready to, stomp out some fermenting, but like, and the other one is just like, oh man, oh, we got an uprising now. Oh, this is rough. Like, I can't imagine at this point he identifies enough with the Empire, because he's not. He's corporate security, and he got fired from that because of the Empire.
Right. I thought it was weird.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we're gonna see his character again, but like, clearly his takeaway wasn't that was great. His takeaway was that was not a good time. And I don't think because he thought he was scared of getting hurt. I think the fact that it went down and the way it went down was upsetting to him in some way. Now, it's either because of the brutality put on the population, or it's because, oh fuck, the population has now risen up. But I don't think he identifies enough with the oppressors, the Empire. Like,
I don't know. He seemed like
do that. So it might be interesting to see him now sort of split with Cyril, assuming he even comes back at all. But
right. I thought it was awkward. Like I said, I really couldn't make out his face because he was drinking. But I thought, why are you on the ground sitting there? Yeah, I don't know. I was curious what you thought about that.
It's not an empowering, uplifting presence. Right. It's not I had a good time. It was bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why it's bad? Open to interpretation.
Yeah. We had Cinta. We saw her again, and she took out what's his name, Corv, where she stabbed him up, and then
that's right.
Because he had came down with Deidre. His name is Corv.
Oh, he was leading the observation team for the ISB on Marvis Place.
Because Cinta was watching him the whole episode. She's kind of tracking him because she's like, "Oh, there's one of them."
Following her, Cove. You got the Corv. Yeah. CORV. I've got IMDb open again.
Okay, so she took out Corv.
He was the one that was watching Marvis Place and reporting back.
Yeah.
And then he tried to ambush her, and then
she
got
him.
No, don't follow me into this closed door. Bam,
right.
Just knifed him.
Right. So that loose end got taken care of. Andor found Bix, and I thought it was kind of beautiful how Bix was saying how she had imagined seeing Andor climbing over a wall, and then also she saw Morva, and he was saying like, wasn't it beautiful what she said? And she was like, yeah. So even though she's like out of her mind, because they messed her up, she's like a broken animal or something, and it's just like, it's so sad because you see how she was in the beginning, and so to see her like she's almost like she's drugged out or something, or it's sad to see, and she's doing a brilliant job acting.
And the makeup people like aced that out.
Yeah,
Bricks got destroyed.
Yeah, but I thought it was sweet how he went back for her and he got her off planet. I thought that was beautiful. And so why do you think that he didn't go on the ship with everybody when everybody was leaving? How come you think he decided not to go?
Because he knows Luthen's there.
Okay, and so as long as he got a trail on him, he's always gonna. He don't want to endanger anybody that he might be with. So for that reason,
imagine. I don't know how much he knows that the Empire's after him specifically, because at this point, no one's told him the Empire's sniffing for you specifically, right? At least I don't think so. No.
Well, they already know that they're there, so he would know he'd be in trouble, but not that there was a plan to get him or anything. No.
Yeah. He didn't
nobody
know
would
that there
know
was
that,
specifically a plan, but he knows Luthen's there.
Yes.
And so as much as he could go off with them, I think there's a difference in how he sees them as, they just did a little mini revolt and rebelled, and that's great. But I think in his head, he doesn't want to pull them in further. And he knows what he's going to do and what Luthen's going to do is going to be the messy stuff. Right?
Yeah.
And where he's going to be the spark is not with them.
Yeah.
It's with Luthen.
That's true. Yeah.
And so that's why he leaves them and goes to find Luthen's ship. Yeah,
I thought it was very powerful. When some of the people there was concerned, she was like, "He'll find us. He always finds us." So I thought that was beautiful.
Right, Brick still has faith in Andor.
Yeah. Then it cuts to another scene that kind of ties up another thing that was kind of going on, and it's Mon's daughter, and I guess she's being set to possibly be married in the near future.
They had the meeting. I don't know if it. Well, there was the scene I think in 11 where Mon Mothma's explaining to Val that there hasn't been a proposal yet, and that her daughter is the one that's super into the old traditional stuff from Chandrila.
Right.
But it's clear that that's what this gangster is angling for, is married into the family and gaining legitimacy and all that sort of stuff, and she has to put her daughter out there as a pawn piece.
And her daughter don't seem like she's fighting it. She actually looked kind of she looked happy about it, kind of.
I think. Well, the daughter looks happy about it because she's a teenager and she's like, "Ooh, I get to do the thing, and I'm gonna be a princess," and da 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 da. And it's like, and her mom and her aunt Val were horrified by it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, no, we're not into that shit. And like, how did
Right.
she find this? She found it on her own. And it's like,
But yeah, well, even with her saying that, I almost didn't believe it just because you knew that she made that happen. When she made a comment about how it's bad and how it started off so simple and then it just kind of got out of hand, I figured that I'm sure it was her daughter's idea, but I'm sure she had a lot to do with that because I don't think that would even have came up as a thing if that guy wouldn't have brought it up. You think that would have came up anyway?
I think it goes back because if you listen to episode 11, it's her and Val talking while looking in at the room, and it's the daughter and all her friends, and they're all dressed the same, and they have the braids, and there's a line that they're repeating about the braids and the braids. She's wearing the braids all throughout the entire season. So the braids is part of this sort of traditionalist whatever component of their culture. So that's already there. And if anything, it probably has to do not with Mon Mothma like instigating that, but just being a semi-absentee parent and being distracted with other things.
So you think the whole setup is separate from that? The meet up with the gangster guy?
I think her daughter's interest in whatever this, traditionalist Chandrila thing is precedes by far any introduction of the mobster coming in and trying to, gain legitimacy by hooking up their kids.
Okay, I can believe that, but I think
the writers definitely set those up.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think it was one of those things where I'm guessing Mon Mothma was like, I don't like this. I don't know if I can stop it. And I don't mean the proposal component.
Oh, okay.
Because she comes on board with that. I think for her daughter getting interested in that, it was, I don't like it. I'd like to stop it, but she already doesn't like me or respect me right now because she's a teenager and I am an absentee parent focused on politics. But it's not an urgent fire to put out until it's too late, when someone else, the gangster, comes and is able to exploit that. So he's exploiting Mon Mothma's vulnerability, but it also doubles down because the daughter is like, yeah, cool. And she's like, fuck. But she could cut the whole thing off, but she didn't. She needs him to move funds. She does the hard thing. She sacrifices probably in a way and a person she never thought she would. Yeah. She also sacrifices her husband's reputation by bullshitting in earshot of her chauffeur.
I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was brilliant. I didn't even understand how that was even coming up until she started talking. I'm like, oh, I loved it. And even told him can we get some privacy, please? And the guy gonna be listening. It was it was nice. That was a great scene.
Can you please eavesdrop on us?
Right, exactly.
Eavesdrop on us.
And it's funny because she adjusts her jacket because her jacket is all folded up to her neck, and then she kind of opens it up. And then her husband gets into the car, and then she started sideways talking and stuff. I'm like, wow. And it worked just how she wanted because you saw the driver dry snitching, saying it the way she said. And what did she say? Did she seem like she was upset when she said, yeah, she seemed like she was blindsided by it, and he seemed to deny it. And the guy's like, oh yeah, well, we saw that she had some weird things going on with her fundings and stuff, so that could explain that. So I'm like, okay, that bought her some time, which was very nice. But then you had that little look on her face of like,
gave her an excuse.
Yeah.
I don't like doing this. But I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like, there are probably people out there who are like, I don't care about this Mon Mothma stuff because there's no action, there's no shooting, and there's no violence. But it's like, for her, she has tons of stake in the game, right? She has lots. She's putting more skin on the table by putting her daughter into play, and it's like,
trust me, the laser would be more kind than the stuff that she's going through. It's not even worth all the stress. Yeah, the pew pew would be more kind. And so the episode ends basically after Andor says goodbye. When we last leave Andor, he's setting everybody ago. He doesn't join them. He has something he has to take care of. And so we see Lutheran looking at the city, kind of like, processing the whole thing. And at first you think he's in the middle of it, but you see that he is outside of the city, basically watching everything kind of go down. And he's heading back to his ship. And so he's getting ready to take off to go back home. He hears a noise and a sound. He turns around, and there is Andor. And he's kind of surprised by it, but not surprised by it. I'm kind of surprised by it, but I thought it was just very interesting that one, that he was in the ship and he left himself vulnerable. He had to drop on Lutheran if he wanted to, but he left the gun there, and almost even
he specifically left the gun.
Yes, and it pretty much told him, either kill me or take me in. And Lutheran kind of stopped and was like,
bring me into the fold.
Yeah, like what's going? Like, are you joking or whatever? So I thought it was just very interesting the chances that Andor takes and how it works out for him. I appreciate that about him being bold to the point where even him moving the way he does would throw somebody else off. Even if somebody had an issue with him, you'd almost have to question your feelings about him, because it's like, what's going on with this dude? Why this move?
Right.
It's entertaining to watch for sure.
This is part of why I don't think Luthen had until that moment decided he wasn't going to kill Andor. Right? I
agree.
He wasn't going to take care of that loose end. But he just saw what happened. He knows who Marva is. He saw Marva's speech. He saw what Marva's speech did.
Yeah.
I imagine on some level he's like, what did that do to Andor? Right? When he sees Andor, and Andor is coming to him of like, I'm in or you kill me.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I think it erases any doubt that, Keela may have had about Andor's loose endness.
Right.
And like, oh, he's not loose, he's solid.
Right.
He's solid 100%.
Right.
He's in.
And
like, he gave me his gun so I could shoot him. He made me feel safe. Told me, like, he knows that he could be considered a loose end.
Yeah.
And he's allowing me to remove that loose end. He's willing to protect what we're doing. He's willing to sacrifice himself. If he's a loose piece that needs to be taken out, he's letting me take it out. And if I'm not going to take it out, it's because he's in 100%. Yeah.
He's not in by duress. He's in by choice. He's in by choice. Because before, he had to offer him money and all this other kind of stuff. This guy is saying he's in. Right. He got commitment. And I'm sure Luthen was kind of like, you don't want anything? Like, I don't have to do anything? I don't have to threaten you or anything? And so I think that was a strong, beautiful ending. So we're going to talk about the stinger. So after that whole thing, I'm like, okay, that was beautiful. The stuff I wanted tied up was tied up. The people I wanted to say goodbye to, I said goodbye to. It was like they didn't leave anything undone. They let you know what all the chess pieces were doing, which I love.
They used everything that they put on the table.
Yes, that is correct. So they did use everything that was on the table. Yeah, I agree. You got information about Cyril and his mother. You got stuff about Serta and what she was doing. Deidre, Mava, just all the characters. You knew what was going on. And everybody, the people who made it, the people who died. Like I said, it was complete. It didn't leave you. To tell you the truth, it was nothing else I was even missing or felt like it was missing or anything they started that I didn't find out about. I felt like I had a complete kind of situation, which I thought was very nice. And even if, I'm not saying that I want this to be true, but even if this was just it, I would be satisfied. I would be satisfied. Yeah.
Satisfied.
I wouldn't feel like I needed to, come back to find out the answer or the truth. It gave me everything. And so it's like a good book where it's just complete. And if they do another book, that's fine, and another adventure. But it didn't leave me on a cliffhanger, which I don't like how certain shows kind of hold you hostage to watch something that you don't really care for, because if you want to know the answers, you got to come back next year. This doesn't do that to you. And I appreciate them for it.
They didn't do, because they do have the after credits stinger,
Oh boy.
but it's not a tease for the next season,
No.
right?
No.
Like it's teased for much later,
Yeah.
but they're not like, oh, we've beat the bad guy, but oh, there's another bad guy. It's more like, the Empire, they're doing
Right.
dirty shit. But the I almost missed the teaser because they haven't done any after credits up until this point.
Yeah.
And so it's only because like my cursor like went over the time bar and I saw that there was a blip of something. I was like, oh wait.
Yeah.
So I moved and watched that. I almost missed it.
That's funny.
And I was absolutely wrong about what they were making in the prison labor camp.
Hey,
Absolutely wrong.
So was I, and it was funny because I always listen to the music and I kind of just sit through it because you just never know. And when I saw that, I'm like, first it started off as a close up of these like robot worker drone like robot things, and they're moving these pieces and stuff. And then it seemed like, oh, that's like the pieces that the inmates were working on, and they're placing them on this thing. And I'm thinking like, oh, okay, almost like a was it like a bee, not a beehive, but almost kind of like this shape of, it looked kind of like that, or it looked like they're working on some kind of yeah.
It's a giant erector set.
Right, and it kind of pulls back. I'm like, okay, and then it pulls back even more.
And then it pulls back even more, and then it pulls back. Holy shit!
It was beautiful. It's like the finishing touches.
Such a great reveal,
man. When I saw that, and it's just like so what's that? What would that be considered? That the round part? Because that's where the power and everything comes out.
It's part of the Death Star super weapon. Like the Star Trek would be like, it's a deflector dish. It's an
something like
thing,
that.
It's a who knows?
That shoots out all the power. But it was just like that reveal and the pullback was just powerful. I'm like, that is crazy. And that's why they were just so desperate to really get this done. They need to have that. It's a priority to have that ultimate weapon available. And that's why they had those inmates just working endlessly on those pieces. I thought it was going to be a simple torture.
The mask of fear.
That's right. And
they are afraid of losing control.
Right. And this whole time I was thinking they were making something for, like I said, torture device, but it's torture in a different kind of way. But but like I said, it was a great reveal and a little icing on the cake. They didn't have to put that on there, but I thought that was pretty dope and a great way to end it. And like I said, even if they didn't have a season 2, which I think they will, and they definitely deserve it.
They're going to.
But if they didn't, I would still be okay with it. Like I said, this is a good journey.
You were talking earlier about the low numbers, right? Like it hadn't got quite the viewing numbers as Mandalorian. Yeah. I did see a thing the other day saying that like now that like the last 2 episodes dropped, viewership is like starting to jump up.
Oh wow, good. It deserves it.
I think people like us were like, okay, we've seen the whole thing, and now we can report out. It's good. Go fucking watch it.
That's right.
And word of mouth, I think, is now really starting to get out. So
that's good, and we'll be here for people to come hear us. Go back to back discussion, discussing the show. Like I said, this has been a great one. I didn't expect it. Like I said, character that seemed kind of awkward to choose from a great movie that came out, and who'd have thought it'd been in the same hands of that person who directed that great movie and found a way to make a 12-episode show with the same kind of energy and power.
The interesting thing about the showrunner, was it Tony Gilliam or something like that? I forget his name.
Gilroy, right? Tony Gilroy? Yeah.
Is he wasn't the original director for Rogue One. He was the director that was brought in for reshoots to rework the film. So it's like, it's not even his original, like he didn't create those characters, but he shepherded those characters across the finish line. And so for him to take that character of Cassian and like continue to build. So I don't know if you saw, I wrote a Facebook post right after the last episode came out, and I was like, singing its praises, and I straight up said, this is the best of Star Wars, quality wise.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best writing, it's the best cinematography, it's probably some of the best acting because the writing and cinematography is
Character
there.
development,
Like,
world building.
don't get me wrong, yeah, like it's executing on far more things than the original Star Wars, which I still love
Yeah.
and is still good, right? But this is truly great. This is
Yeah.
if this somehow existed beyond Star Wars, if it was someone's side project and they just filed off all the serial numbers,
Right.
I would still be ranting and raving about it
Yeah.
just as much because it is just that good.
Yeah.
If anyone
Yes, it
was
is.
curious, my opinion.
Yeah, I concur. What he said for sure. What he said for sure. Yeah, it's pleasant surprise. Pleasant surprise. What's coming out next?
So they did just announce it's either May or March 3rd. Mando season 3 is dropping.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure about. Yeah. So I don't know if they dropped a trailer or not. There was a whole bunch of trailers that dropped in the last few days. Thank you.
I've seen that. Yeah.
And then I think you were dropping some of them in chat.
Yep.
And then I think we're getting more information about the Acolyte show. I don't know if that's coming out next year or not. It's supposed to be how the Sith infiltrated the Jedi Order 100 years before the original trilogy. So we'll have to see how that one goes. But Mando 3. That's it.
What?
That's a tricky premise. That'll be the Acolyte one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might be interesting, and I still haven't caught up with Tales of the Jedi, which is some new animated Star Wars stuff where there's like backstory on Ahsoka and Count Dooku. I think I only got through 2 episodes, so I need to watch the rest of that.
It was so great catching up with you. I appreciate you going down this journey of Andor with me. This has been fun. I look forward to our next one. You have any words? Any parting words?
Ooh, I would assume at this point, if anyone's made it through all our rambling about this show and they've watched it or are in the process of watching it, I've convinced multiple friends to go and watch it, so I don't think I need to do that anymore. I don't know. I think I would just remind people to try. Where and how they can to try.
Okay.
It's easy when I got good material to work with.
All right, we're going to end it there then. Okay. I'm Jay, and that's been Ryan discussing Season 1 of Andor 1 through 12. Wow, man, that went by fast. All right. Till next time, peace.
Till Season 2.
All right, that was a good one. Thanks for listening, and please like and subscribe. Be sure to check out past and future episodes of this show, along with my other shows entitled The Movie Bench Quarterbacking Podcast and The J and Podcast, available now on all streaming platforms. Until next time, peace.